Welcome to the first Funded Youth Remix Challenge project. The purpose of these remix challenges is to find a simple, fun product that we can recreate into a tutorial using video and documentation so that you, the viewer, can recreate it yourself. For this example, we came across a target dummy just searching random things, and I found this one by the designer Infinity Models, which is a really cool version. It looks like the designer may have created this originally in resin. I did not read the documentation. I just looked at it, said that would be a fun toy to build for anybody. But what if we adapted it so that when you hit the shield, the body and everything would rotate? So we went ahead and we built this and designed it. We have the video tutorial ready, which you'll watch in the next part of this series. And all these parts are actually interchangeable. The head is separate, the body with the arms is separate, the shield is separate, the sword is separate, the hands are separate pieces so you can print them in different colors. When you hit the shield, the whole body rotates, so does the head slightly. If you hit it too hard, the whole thing comes apart and you can reassemble it like if you were to shoot a catapult at it or anything like that. So we hope you enjoy. This is a new series we are introducing on a weekly basis. If you have any ideas you'd like us to build, let us know. This product was created in TinkerCAD and printed on a Sovol SV07 Plus right up in draft mode. Nothing special, just straightforward with adhesion and supports. Okay, so as you can see, we've already completed the model. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to break this down and we'll go through the process of building the different parts to produce the 3D model. So if we come in here, the first part we'll start with is the base. So the base itself is set at 40 by 40 millimeters with a height roughly around, with a stock in the middle, about 50 millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this off to the left up here so that we have it as a reference. Or actually, yeah, just off to the side up here. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's start building. So I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to bring in a cylinder into the main area. Hold C as it's telling me, so it's on the work plane. And then we have this at 40 by 40. So let's go ahead and hold down the shift key so that we can set the width and the length to 40 millimeters. And then let's see, for the height, I'm going to go ahead and ungroup that. For the height, we had it set at 4. So if we come here, we're going to take this and we're going to put this down at 4 millimeters. So we have the start of our base. Okay, so now with our base created, the next step is to create the center rod. So let's go ahead, let's grab this over here. I'm going to grab the entire object again, bring it over here to the center so I can play around with it. And I'm going to hide the body and the shield, the head, the sword, and get rid of that. So this is what we're working with in the center. The next part we want to build is we actually want to build this long piece of rod here, which is 5.25. Yes, I set it at 5.25, and the reason for that is because the body itself will actually spin in this design when you hit the shield, and we'll set that at a 6 millimeter. So that's at 5 and about, give or take, 49.8. I don't know why it's at that. It's probably fine if it were 50. So we'll go ahead and let's recreate that. We can do that by either duplicating or dragging a copy on here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate that by clicking on a Mac, Command D, on Windows, Control D, or clicking on this icon here. I'm going to temporarily change it to a new color. I'm going to scale it. Let's see, again, we had 5.25. Hold down the shift key, 5.25, and then we have that set at a height of 50. So I'm going to come over here and set that to 50. And I actually have it aligned directly to the surface bottom. So if we look at this, it's 50 from the workspace plane. So let's go ahead and let's align these two. And then I'm going to hold down the, after I select the alignment, I'm going to click on the actual base itself so that we align to this base item rather than to the center of these two items. So I'll click on that and align that. And there we go. The next part that we're going to build within this base item is a, what I call this, it's kind of the riser. So when the body fits on it, it doesn't fall all the way down, it hovers above. So let's take a look at this. That is a cylinder as well. And if we expand the cylinder, we can notice that it has max on the sides, max on the bevel, and one segment. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at that. The current measurement for this is 7.14. There is no specific reason as to why I set it that. We can actually just do it at 7, which would be fine, with a height of the 9. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's duplicate the post. So let's go ahead, let's duplicate the post. Let's change that to another color. And then we have that set at 9. And then what was the width and height set for this? 7.4. Let's just go with 7. That seems like an easier rounded number. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key again and click on 7. Alright, so we got 7. Now let's go ahead and let's align the two tubes to the center. So we're going to hold down and select both these at the same time using the Shift key, or you can actually do that if we wanted to select all, but I'm going to hold down the Shift key to select both. Select the alignment tool, then I'm going to select on the tube, the tall tube here, a cylinder, so that I can align the pink cylinder to it. Then what I went ahead and did is I went into the settings, so let's move this off to the side for that pink cylinder, and I set the sides at max so that it's smooth all the way around, and then I set the bevel to the max. And there we go. Pretty similar at the moment. Now that we have our base unit, the next thing we'll do is we'll produce the head. So I'm going to go ahead, you know what, let's leave that there. We'll just duplicate this unit up here as well. So let's unhide everything so that we have our head unit. We can view what we want to look at. The head unit currently is 16 by 16 with a height of 19. And it looks like we're using a cylinder again. So let's go ahead and let's duplicate this rod here. We can actually leave that in place at the moment. Let's duplicate that. I'm going to do the shortcut to duplicate it. I'm going to change its color to, I don't know, let's do green now. And then I'm going to do, what did we say it was at 16 by 16. So let's go ahead and let's set that using the Shift key. Set that at 16 by 16. Okay. And then we had the height set at 19. So let's go ahead, let's go up to the height and set that to 19. Alrighty. Next, let's go ahead and let's align this to the top of this tall rod here. So let's come over to the alignment tool, click on the rod a second time, align this to the top and to the center points of it. Okay, now the next thing we're going to actually do is we're going to raise this up. So if I come over here to my existing model and I turn it from a solid to a hole, I can actually tell where I'm expecting to place this, somewhere about midway. So let's do the same thing. We'll select our existing product we're building or head model we're building. We'll make that into a hole and then we'll drag it up, I don't know, yeah, 9 works. Okay, and now that we have it there, what we're going to do is we're going to add bevel to it. So what do we set on this? We set, oh, I think I have that grouped, which is why that's set a little different. So let me ungroup that real quick. Okay, so we have the side set at 12 and the bevel set at 2.5. So if we go ahead and do this now, 12 and 2.5. So we have this at 12, and then we have that at 2.5. So that looks quite similar. Excellent. So now we have the head unit. All right, so now that we have the head, let's go ahead and let's build the body. The body itself, well, I could reduce this. We're just going to take a look at it a second. It is made up of a rectangle on the back for the arms, and then it's made up of actually a cylinder and 2 spheres. So if we come in here, there is a sphere here. Actually, it's made out of 3 spheres technically. There's a sphere here that's been sliced off. Then there's a sphere on the inside to make it look like the human body has been set in. And then there's, to give it like these shoulder indents, there is a hole that was made out of a sphere to cut out of it. So let's go ahead and let's try and recreate that. Let's bring in the sphere first. So I'm going to bring that onto here. I'm going to align it to the post here. And let's look at this. I think I made the sphere a little bit bigger. I could be wrong, but let's go ahead and let's make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to hold down the Shift key in this case. I'm going to set it to about 30. No, let's keep it at 25. That's good. Okay. So we'll keep it at about 25. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink it on the sides a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and hold down the Option key on the Mac. I think it's the same thing for Windows. And bring it down to 20 so it's kind of oblong shaped. I'm then going to bring this up a little bit. Whoops. I'm going to hide the head unit. I'm going to bring this up. And yeah, right about there. That's about good, because we will actually cut this off. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to bring that up a little bit and make a whole version. So I'll do a whole version, so it gives me that same concept of the shoulder appearance, as you can see. Right about there. That's probably fine. And then I'm going to do this one more time, and I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to shrink down the duplication, and let's just give this a different color temporarily. I'm going to then group these two pieces right here together, the whole and the upper part of the body, so the shoulder area. Oh, undo, I did not mean to do that, so let's group that. My apologies. Let me hide this. And then let's bring the shoulder area in so it looks like they have actually something they're wearing on the inside here. And let's shrink that up. So I'm going to grab down the Option key and I'm going to drag that in a little bit so it drags from both sides. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this piece so that it drags in from both sides. I'm going to drag that up just a little bit more so it gives the appearance of shoulders inside. And now let's go ahead and let's get a cylinder. So we can either take an existing cylinder that we have or we can drag one in. I'm going to simply drag one in. I'm going to align this to the post here. I'm going to scale this up so that it's, or not scale this up, but drag it up so that it is pretty much right above our pin or stopping pin point. If I look at it, it's pretty close to what we had it at for this one. If we look at the two sides, it's close to it. You're like, well, it looks like it might be smashed a little bit more. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's do that. Let's smash it a little bit. I'm going to smash it on both sides, make sure I have some weight there. Not much going out on the other side. And then what did I do? It looked like I did a bit of a lower poly set. So I came down here. Let's zoom in. And I said I wanted less sides. So I went all the way down, it looks like, to about 12 sides. Yeah, that's pretty close. And then the next part to this, we are going to cut off the front and the back and put the arms in. Okay, so just as I said, now that we have our starting point of our body, the next part we want to do is we want to cut it off so that it's flat on the front and the back. Now I need to group these three items first. So let me go ahead and grab the 3 spheres and the cylinder, and we will group those. Alright, so it's made it purple for us, which is fine. And the next thing we want to do is we want to add in 2 boxes that are hole base boxes. And I'm going to drag this over here, and let's look at it sideways, and let's drag it up. Now you don't have to do both sides, but for this example I'm going to. So I'm going to cut this out, but I need to make sure, if I look at that, how much is cut out. Yeah, that looks about the same. Make sure the box is scaled enough for both sides so that it's slicing it off both on the front and the back. Then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this box and drag it to the back side of it so that it's similar on both sides. So there's, if and when it rotates, it will look the same almost on both sides. Okay, let's go ahead and let's group the body with the two cutouts. Okay, so it's a little bit different, but that's still okay. I mean, it'll still print fine. Actually, I'm going to bring that in a little bit so it'll print a little easier for me when it does. So I'm going to change this down from, let me minimize that real quick. I'm going to change this down from 1 to, let's say 0.25 for movements. I'm going to bring this in a little bit there, and the same with this, a little bit right about there. That's fine. No precision. I'm going to then regroup these items. Yeah, okay. Not much different, but gives it more of the same appearance as the other one. I'm going to change this back to 1 millimeter. And then let's go ahead and let's add the arms in. So I'm actually going to get the exact dimensions of the arms here. So I'm going to ungroup that, and then one more time, ungroup it again. And so the dimensions we have for the arms is a square that is 3 by 53 by, my bet is, I think I have that set as 3. So 3 by 3 by 53. So let's go ahead and let's add a cube in. And let's make this cube exactly that. So this was 3. And this part was 3. And then the length of it was 53. It's best to have an odd measurement when you want to center pieces, by the way. So let's go ahead and let's align this to the back of the body. So I'm going to come here, select the body, and select align to the back. Then I'm going to measure it at the top and put it at the middle. Oh, looks like I messed up on something. Let's realign that. Alrighty. And then we could do, let's go about the center. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll bring this up a little bit so that it's about where the arms would normally be. So about the center of the circle piece. All right. And that is the first part of the, or that is the main part of the body before we cut out a hole. So let's go ahead and let's group that together. And we have our body figure. With our body fully designed, or at least the main part of the body designed, the next part you might think is the hands or the sword or the shield, but instead what we need to focus on is the pivot or tilt. So in the initial design here, if we go ahead and we hide the head unit, what you can see is you can see this cutout shaft in here, which is designed so that the body itself, when the shield is hit or the arms are hit, it will spin around the center axis here, or the center post. So that's what we want to do next, is we want to go ahead and we're going to select the center post here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to duplicate this. And we're going to change it from the dimensions of 5.5 to 6. So go ahead and hold down the Shift key on the right corner so that we can scale both sides at once. We'll set that to 6. We'll make that a cutout. And then we'll select the larger post here, or the base right here is what I meant to say. And we will align it to the base so that it's aligned to the center. And now let's make sure it's going all the way through, just in case, and it should be. So there's not an issue there. Yes, it is. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we will select the whole cylinder, and we'll select the body to cut out the hole inside the body. So let's go ahead and do that now by grouping them. And now if we come down here, we can see that it's been cut out. Now one thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to roll back. I'm going to undo that. and I'm going to actually duplicate this because the head itself also needs a hole. So let's go ahead and let's duplicate this hole as well, and we'll go ahead and we'll just move it down below, and then we'll go ahead and group this again so that we have our cutout. And then let's unhide the head, and we'll bring the head unit up a little bit, obviously, because it doesn't want to sit right there. It'll probably sit right about here. And we'll take our tube and we'll drag it up, and we'll give it enough space so that the head can have more pipe or however long we want to add to it. We'll solidify this. And now the only two pieces up here and high enough are the hole and the head, or the hole in the head. We'll go ahead and we'll group that. And now if we actually move the head up, or you know what, let's temporarily rotate it, we can see that a hole's been added. So I'm going to undo and put that back. So now we have a hole for the post that is shooting straight up from the base, so the body, when it gets hit, can spin, and the head can just fit right on top of that when we assemble it. So the next step in our process, now that we have the body, the arms, the head, and a hole cut out so that it can swivel, is we are going to build the shield. So let's go over here. The shield, I don't know what size I set that as, so I'm going to ungroup that real quick into two parts. And the shield I have set at 3 millimeters. Okay, so the same width and depth I had set at the arms itself. So the height of this is 30, so it's 30 by 3 millimeters. So let's go ahead and let's create that now. Let's get a sphere out here, or a cylinder, is what I meant to say. And let's rotate to the side. Let's make that 3. And let's give it a height of, I'm going to hold down the shift key when I do this, of 30. So let's shrink this back up to 3. Okay, so now we have that. But before we add the shield, the thing we want to do is we want to create the hand. So the hand is simply a little socket, just like we had with the body itself, where there's a hole in the center and then it slides into. So what we'll do is we'll bring in a square and we'll set it to 3 by 3 to start it off. So we'll go 3. Okay, let's give it a different color. It looks like I enjoy using green right now. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to align it to the body. So let's click on the body item and let's add it to the top, and let's get it to the center area. No, probably mid. I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to ungroup the body real quick so that I have something I can assign this at. Let's realign this to this part of the body. So align to there, align to the center. There we go, that's much better. And then let's align it to the edge here. Then I'm going to go ahead and obviously bring this out past the edge here by 3. And then we want to add in, give or take, we want this to be the end point at the 3 point here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scale this over to, I don't know, let's say 10. So I'm going to have that at 10, and then I'm going to scale this up a little bit. So let's say something like 3.5. Let's do a little bigger than that. Let's set it at 3.75 so that it still grips when we make this. And then let's realign. Okay, that's good. All right. So we have the outer part, which is going to be the hole. We will actually create this into a hole. So let's go ahead and do that now. And so we're saying we want the hole right about there. I'm going to shrink this up in a second. Actually, no, let's do that now. I'm going to shrink that up to about 9. So the whole thing's about 9 right now. I think that's good. And then what we'll do is we will add an outer part on this. So let's make sure, I'm going to scroll around this and make sure it's all in the center. Good. All right. So we've got our whole item. And now I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, create a solid. That's fine, we'll keep it a green. And then we will take the solid and make it a little bit bigger. So we'll change that to something like, and I'm holding down the shift key for your information, and we'll set it to something like 5. And see what that gives us. Oh, that's looking pretty good. But we selected the wrong item. So I have the hole. I'm going to hide the hole for a moment then. I'm going to scale this green block out to 5. Let's see, look about the same. You know what? Let's do it a little bit bigger. So right now it's at 5. Let's set it at 6. Okay. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to scale the 6 up a little bit so that it's more of a flattened support here when it prints. So it's right now 7 by, what an odd measurement, 6 by 14. I'm going to do 15 for that. Okay. And then let's go ahead and let's align this to the center of the arms. Okay, there we go. We got the start of our hand. Now the next part, if you look at the hands, we actually have them slightly beveled or slightly rounded. So let's go ahead and let's do that now. Let's add a radius. So we're going to add a little bit of a radius. I don't know, I'll probably do about 2 for this. Okay, so now I have that set. I'm going to convert this into a temporary hole. I'm going to unhide the other hole. And then what I will do is I will bring this over so that it almost fits all the way in. And then the next part that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the end of our new hole. So I'm going to change the color on that again to a solid. I'm going to bring our box back here. I'm going to duplicate that, which you didn't see. I used the shortcut key. I'm going to then bring it back. There we go. Bring it back there. I'm going to hold down the Option key and I'm going to scale out both sides. And then I'm going to hold the Option key and scale out these 2 sides. And let's bring it forward just a little bit so it cuts it off. So I'm going to then go ahead and take this new box here with the green box, so the hole in that, I'm going to cut that off so it creates a flat edge. Then let's go ahead one more time. Let's take a look at that. Is that a good depth for us? Well, it looks pretty good. I'm going to make that solid again. And I will come in here and select the whole cutout for the hand. Let me select that now. Group those 2 together, and now we have our whole hand cut out. So that thing can slip on there when we print it. The next part that we're going to do is we will align the shield to this point. So let's go ahead, let's grab the shield, let's grab the hand, let's align the shield to the hand, bring it up there, set it somewhere about center. We actually don't want it at the center. Where we want to place this is we want to place this against the actual hand. So something along that lines. It doesn't have to be exactly on. So if I turn this into a hole, it should be just slightly over inside the hand at the moment. Okay. And then we probably don't want the shield to butt up against this. So let's move the shield off to the right a little bit. Let's do a little more. Whoop. Doesn't always do what I want it to do. So right about there. Not that much. Okay, that's good. So now it's actually holding it. So now I'm going to turn that back to orange. And I am going to leave that at that place for now. It's a little shorter than our original model, but that's okay. And so we're good. We have the start of our shield, at least, and a hand item. All right, now that we have our shield created, the next step is to create a hand on the right side, just like this one, but one that can hold a sword. So before we group these 2 pieces, let's go ahead and let's duplicate this. what I'm planning to do is I'm first going to actually create a hole for the body, and then I'm going to actually remove, or not remove, but hide this item like the original. I don't want that in the way at the moment. Then let's go ahead and let's duplicate this hand. So let's come over, let's duplicate it. Then let's reflect it. Yes, we're going to flip it along this length, or this line here. Okay. Then let's go ahead and let's move it to the other end. And I'm going to turn this into a hole too so that I can see where it's at for fitting on the hand. Okay, perfect. Now that we have our holes and we have our holy hands, let's go ahead and let's add a cylinder within this that can hold a sword. So if the sword's hilt, or the part that you grab onto, the grip, is 3 millimeters in diameter, we probably want to make it about 3.5 so that it'll fit in when we print it. So let's go ahead and let's add a cylinder in. Let's set it to, hide that, to 3.5. Then let's align it to this object here, or our hand up here. Okay, let's grab it. Yep, perfect. Let's bring that up a little bit. Now let's take a look from the top view. Let's move it over. Make sure it's centered to the hand itself. And let's go ahead and let's make sure this is scaled all the way through. So we'll bring that all the way through. Perfect. And let's turn that into a hole. Then we'll turn our hand back into a solid, and we'll group the hole for it together. So now there is a hand that can hold a sword, or anything that can fit into it. For this example, we'll build a sword. Alright, the final part is building the sword. So the sword we will build on the ground. So we'll come in here and we'll set up a a roof. We'll build a roof. I'm going to rotate the roof to 90 degrees. Then I'm going to set its height at 3 millimeters. I'm going to bring it up and lock it right down onto, let's see here, there we go, onto the platform. Rotate it again 90 degrees this way. And then I'm going to go ahead and look at comparison on the size. Is that sword too big? Is it a good size? Oh, what I meant to do is put that to the side. So if I look at that, you know what? That seems like a good size, a nice big sword for him. Right now it's at 20, so let's bring a rectangle in. Keep the rectangle at the size it's at. Let's align these two. Then I'm going to bring the rectangle back a little bit so that it's just up against the edge here. There we go. And let's put this down at 3 millimeters. So now that's 3 millimeters, that's 3 millimeters, and let's make the sword a little bit bigger, maybe about 35. That looks good. And then the next part is we're going to build a hilt. So let's duplicate this box. Let's reflect this down. I'm going to set the hilt to about 4. I'm going to change the hilt color just so I can see what it is I'm working with. I'm going to scale it out a little bit. Oop, grab the wrong side. Okay, that's looking pretty good there so far. And then I'm also going to add in a cylinder. So I need a 3 millimeter cylinder to fit inside the 3.5 millimeter hole that we just created inside the hand. So let's go ahead and say 3. And then I'm going to rotate this at 90 degrees. Align it to the center of the hilt. Right at the back of that. Actually, yep, right at the back, that's fine. Let's grab it. Alright. I'm going to scale that out. Set it about 15 from the back right there. And we're close. But it's not the same as the original sword, which had lines coming out here. So what we'll do instead is we'll grab the roof at the top here. We'll duplicate the roof. We'll then align the roof down to the base of this, the duplicate copy. So let me change the color of this duplicate. We'll align to the base of the blade. Okay, perfect. Then we'll go ahead and we'll move the base of the blade over to the right to center it. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll scale this up a little bit past 20 so that the line reaches up. We'll say 37, that's good. Then we'll scale the sides in to about, let's see here, what did we give it? 10. Okay, that works. Let's duplicate this one more time. So we'll duplicate this blue roof. We'll move it off to the side. I'm going to hold down the shift key while I'm moving this so it stays locked in place. And notice how it's starting to look. So we're going to take these two pieces and we're going to turn them into holes. So they will cut this out. I'm actually going to shrink the hilt down a little bit now. Let's see, what did I put that at? 20. Okay, so 20 by 20 by 20 with the hilt. If I now group all these together, we have our sword. Now it's up to you if you want to or not. Again, it's an option to place the sword into the hand of the person. I'm going to go ahead and do it because it looks cool, but it doesn't matter when you print it because you're going to have to print pieces flat. So let's go ahead and let's rotate it 90 degrees. Let's drag that up a little bit. Let's align it to the hand. So towards the back somewhere. Okay, I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to move it to the right. Now what I actually could do, if I wanted to, I could ungroup the hand with the hole in it, and then I could align the sword to the hole. So if I do that, okay, and then I can select the hand again and regroup it. Take the sword. Now let's change the angle and bring it down. And we can remove the hole from the body. I'm going to change that to orange. Well, actually, what I should do is hide that, group these two, unhide, and now we have a body that's very similar to the other one. The only difference is this one has an awesome sword. And that's how you make the target dummy, or at least in the design. I will show you in the next video a 3D printed version of it, of what it looks like and how to assemble it. Okay, so here is the finished product, technically disassembled, 3D printed. I've pulled out all the supports that were in it. And what we have here is we have our base that we printed. I printed this in a green and yellow silk PLA from Area One, I believe is the brand. And here is our body unit. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that down. As you can see, it rotates perfectly. The next thing I could easily do is add in the shields. So I've actually found it easier when I was doing this to put the shield on and kind of add a little dented pressure to it, just a little force it on when it starts. Here is the hand for the sword. I'm going to do the same thing with that, and I'm going to pop that on there and kind of dent that on. The first time you do it, it'll be a little struggle, but once you get on, it'll be fine. Then I can actually set that down. I can place the sword in hand, and because it is a cylinder, I can rotate it. And then finally, using the head unit, I can drop that on there. And we have our little dummy, or our warrior, that spins around when his shield gets hit, or when their shield gets hit. It can take a decent amount of pressure, but if I hit it too hard, it will flick off and fall away. which is still pretty cool if it gets hit by a catapult.